Daryl takes off to go after Dwight. Glenn, Michonne, and Rosita go after Daryl, and Rick and Morgan head out after Carol. Probably not wise to just everybody take off out of the town right now. You know what I'm saying? But we are having to set up for next week's big season finale. So it's The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 15, East. Alright, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Like I said, we are building things up, setting things up for next week's big season finale. And they do this by spreading everybody out and around the world as we know it. So as things start off, Daryl has hit his limit. The whole incident with Dwight and Denise's death have hit him hard. And as he says later on, there's really good reason for it. He ran into Dwight and the girls and stuff in the middle of the woods. They caught him, they tied him up, and he was still trying to forget them. He still saved their life. He still was practically inviting them to come back to Alexandria. So when they betrayed him, when they left and took his bike, and his return equals the death of Denise with Daryl's own crossbow. These are lines that Daryl cannot stand. These have been crossed too much. He is going after Dwight. He is filled with vengeance, which is not a good idea, a good motivation to be running off on your own in the midst of the undead apocalypse. So we have people heading out after him. Got to stop him, got to save him. And that is Glenn, Michonne, and Rosita kicking Abraham to the side, saying, no, you're staying here. I'm the one that's going to go because I know where he's going, of course. Going back to where they last saw Dwight. That's where Daryl's going to pick up his trail. And so then we've got Carol has taken off, and then we've got Morgan and Rick going after her. And of course, Carol, I love Carol's bit that she stuck off in the middle of the night under the guise of the watch and nobody saw her. Why? Because Carol's a freaking ninja. She is a ninja, the ninja of the apocalypse. Yeah, she may not be the martial artist, but she knows how to get in and out of a place without being seen. And it's just perfect for her. So we've got two groups now heading out into the distance. And that kind of leaves Alexandria a little unprotected. Yes, we've got Maggie. Yes, we've got Abraham. And apparently we have Enid as well. We don't really see anybody else. Spencer's there, Tobin's there, there's a few others, but those aren't really fighters. They're doing their best to set things up for defense of Alexandria. But I think it's definitely was a big mistake to send most of your primary fighters out on wild goose chases, hunting people down, in who knows where, what kind of dangers that can run into. And so primarily this episode is really all character work. It's all set up. There's not a whole lot of action that actually happens here. Really more discussions, backgrounds, and like I said, setups. Let's talk about Morgan and Rick. And their conversations and their points is really kind of that discussion of, do we save lives, do we kill everyone, and where everybody has gone. I like that Morgan did relay the story of the wolf, that he did tell Rick everything that had happened. And he did so for a reason, to say, yes, I did this, and I brought him in. And Rick's all, you did what? But it's an important part of the story. Yes, I did this. Yes, I did this. And all these bad things happened. But at the end of it, this wolf, this killer, this madman saved Denise's life, which allowed Denise to come and save Carl's life. So there is, the circle comes back around, as he says. Killing is not always the only option. Sometimes it's better not to. You have to give people the chance to do it. And the conversation with how far everyone has gone, even to the point where Rick is telling the story of, Morgan had brought up, yeah, you had thrown out Carol once before because she had killed these people and you got rid of her, but she came back and saved you. Again, that more of a circle thing. And Rick just says, well, if that had happened right now, I would have thanked her. These people were a threat. You know, they were diseased, they were going to turn, they were spreading, you couldn't save them. That was the best move to make, as the Rick is now. So we're seeing those different evolutions of character, and I think that's really the thing that the show does so well, is they're continually evolving the characters in logical ways. Yes, they're doing their ups and their downs. We're for peace, we're against peace. You know, I want to be violent, I don't want to be violent. But these all are results of circumstances and what has happened. I mean, what Rick has gone through since that time at the prison up until now, as he says, I don't take chances anymore. You know, kind of a little dark side. Going back to the conversation that he had with Michonne in bed, is that, you know, the world is ours. I think that's a little bit of a mistake. I think that is the thinking that a Negan or a governor or those types of villains view the world. And of course, the Saviors see the Alexandrians as the villains, as we saw in the last episode when Carol was taken. Is you know, the Saviors were saying, you know, you guys are the bad guys. So we have certainly different perspectives that are going on, but I think these points of views are really going to end up being the defining factor. And then when Morgan sends Rick back off and says, you know, you go, I will find her, but don't come after me if I don't. That's kind of Morgan's way of acknowledging the difference between the two communities, but that they need him as well. You know, Alexandria needs Rick. They don't need Morgan quite as much. Morgan can be better served going out there, and considering the fact that Morgan is one of those, is understanding the place where Carol is at, that the killing has become too much for her. I think it's quite appropriate as him as a person that doesn't necessarily have to kill and can be a loner out in the world, is in a much better position to interact with Carol at this moment, even with the differences that they have, even the anger that Carol might have had with Morgan, because she is in this space. I think that he is the right person to go and track her down. And of course, while we were talking about Carol, yes, she doesn't want to kill anymore, but she is also not afraid of doing that, as we saw in the opening sequence. Do not mess with Carol. Love the little spike car that she's driving around with. Hasn't even bothered pulling any of those things out. Just driving down the road in a giant porcupine car, just ready to ram into anybody that might show her any trouble. But of course, she runs into a couple of saviors that are happy to be heading to Alexandria. So again, this is an ever-present threat now. The saviors are aware of Alexandria. As they say, oh, that's one of the cars that are out in front of this town that's surrounded by walls. They've got the information. They know all about Alexandria. And that should really be something that should, I think, have turned Carol around as just a warning aspect. But she's too caught up in her own, I think, particular journey at the moment to see that really the best thing was to have turned around and go and warned everyone that there are more saviors and they are well aware of Alexandria. But that aside, again, don't mess with Carol. She warned him. Can't say that she didn't warn him. We don't want it to go this way. It doesn't have to be this way. You could leave, but they pushed it, so she had to kill them all, because that's what Carol does. By the way, that's a gun that was sewn up in the sleeve. That's what we find out that she was doing in the very beginning when she was sewing. I thought she was repairing it, but no, that was a gun that she had sewn into the sleeve of that jacket. So again, she doesn't want to kill, but it's not that she's not unprepared to do so. But that whole hyperventilation, that whole breathing, I think it's really showing, yes, she still can kill, but it's really having a serious effect on her. The battle within her is quite intense at this, is quite intense at this moment. And I'm not really sure where that's going to end up going. But I am sure that next week we'll be getting a little bit more answers on that aspect. And then we've got Daryl's whole pursuit of Dwight. Not really the most intelligent things. Yes, Daryl's a badass and he is a great tracker and hunter, but he is emotionally driven, and that's where people make mistakes. Michonne and Rosita and Glenn do run into him. They have that conversation where, again, Daryl, describes what had happened with Dwight and why he was going after him. I had saved him. I'd given him all these chances, and because of that, he was able to kill Denise. I have to go after him, which pulls Rosita after, with him as well. So now we've got two separate groups wandering through the woods. We've got Rosita and Daryl, and we have Glenn and Michonne. But Glenn and Michonne don't last too long until they get surrounded and run into by the saviors, including Dwight. You dick. And hopefully we were thinking for half a second. That's all right, man, because we still got Rosita and Daryl out there, and they're gonna save them. But no, they are not. Just as they just go up, Glenn tries to warn him off, but Dwight appears beside him with the gun, and the last thing we see is blam, and blood hitting into the camera. And the line, it'll be all right. You'll be all right. Now, I listened to that a couple of times, and I think it's supposed to be Dwight who says that. But to me, it sounded like Daryl's voice. So I'm not sure if that's just me mishearing things, or there might be some little switch. Maybe go back if you got it on DVR and re-listen to it. What do you think? But the big thought is Daryl dead? No, Daryl is not dead. At least Daryl's not dead right now. One, nobody really died this episode. You don't kill such a huge character with a quick fade to black and above the camera. That's not the way, especially Dwight. Dwight's not going to be the one that takes out Daryl. Give me a break. What kind of universal justice is that? But certainly he's not dead. If anything, he got shot in the shoulder. That's where the gun was going. Daryl turned at him real quick before the boom. So if that was Dwight saying it'll be all right and he's talking to Daryl, it's because he was probably shot in the shoulder. Big damage. It's going to be a nasty wound that close with that caliber of weapon. But I think that he is still alive. But what this is really setting up for is the big reveal of Negan next week. The comics follow a very particular line and who dies. However, this show always switches that up. So most likely, the character that dies in the comic book is not the one that is going to die at Negan's hand and be the big death that we have all been told to expect. But what this does do is it puts 4 major characters in the hands of the saviors. We have Glenn, we have Rosita, we have Daryl, and we have Michonne. Any one of those going would be bad. Rosita is probably the one that we'd all be like, no, okay, if she goes, that'll be fine. No offense, Rosita, we love you. But in regards to major characters who we all love, I think she would be the one that we as an audience would be most accepting of dying. We do not want to see Daryl kill. The world will riot if that happens. Glenn, we already had Glenn's fake death out in the beginning. That might be too much. It might be too repetitive. Are we going to have Michonne then? Now, as much as I love Michonne, that relationship that she's in with Rick right now, and Abraham and Rick have that little conversation at the end where Abraham asks him, aren't you afraid of letting someone in? And I love that Rick was very honest with him. Well, yeah, of course I'm afraid to let someone in. The idea is this is where you got to go. This is where things are going with the world. We can't let the world stop, just because it ended. It seems kind of an odd point of view, but you understand what I mean. You got to keep living. You got to keep moving things forward. But to me, that kind of, I don't know. I love Michonne. I really don't see her being the one being killed. However, from a story standpoint, where she has gotten that peace, she is back there, is that arc finished for her? And also as a threat in with Rick, that's going to make a huge hit. Look, if she or Daryl die, there's going to be rioting. It's going to go badly. So I honestly, I don't know where they're going to bring this in. Or they're going to capture Carol, and is she going to be the one that's killed? Is it going to be Morgan? Because he's out there looking for Carol. Again, we have 4 people that are captured by the Saviors, 2 other people that are out in the world, and we don't know what's going on with them. But the Saviors are coming. They are coming next week. And this is going to be a major turning point for Alexandria, for Rick, and the group. We're about to lose one of our own, and we don't know who it is. They have set up a number of people that it could be, or it could be somebody completely different. And let's not forget Maggie. Just cut the hair, getting all warrior, ready for battle, and then something goes wrong. And is she losing the baby? Is that going to be part of the loss that we suffer as well? I don't know what's going to happen. But we got to wait till next week. It is the big season 6 finale. And we will have the arrival and introduction of Negan. It's all gonna be bad. But awesome as well, hopefully. We're gonna get that two-way of horror and hope and fear and awesomeness. And we gotta wait till next week to see all of that happen. Please press like. It's early for me, excuse me. Please press like if you did enjoy what I had to say today. Subscribe to us. We are doing this every week, and as soon as we are done with the finale next week, we're going to be going right into Fear the Walking Dead after that. So we've got walkers, and more walkers. These will be water walkers, by the way. Sorry. That we're going to be seeing in Fear the Walking Dead. So that will be exciting. Comment in the section below. Tell me what you think. Any predictions that you guys have? I know I threw out a couple of ideas right there, but really it's filled a lot with I don't know what's going to happen. Few ideas, few thoughts and directions, most of them all bad. What do you guys think? Put it in the section below. We'll continue this conversation. That is it. We're done for this week. I am D. I am out of here. I will see you guys next week for the big Walking Dead finale. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.